Did you see what destroyed them? Shinjigwa shook his head. I don't know. All I remember is the chaos. The convoy was in disarray, and everyone was fleeing. We later found a corner to hide, and only now do we dare to come out. Wang Chung instinctively gazed up at the sky. Their group continued to move forward. The surrounding streets and city grew increasingly desolate. The number of monsters and people gradually decreased, indicating that they were leaving the threats behind. They were truly about to exit the city, to leave the coastal city, and to depart from this dangerous place. Wang Chung and Shinjigwa expressed their goals. They intended to seek out the military, which coincided with Shinjigwa's thoughts. Although he had a considerable number of personnel and firepower, he firmly believed that aligning with the military was the safer choice. Shinjigwa had witnessed the launch of cluster strikes from military rocket launchers and the soaring of fighter jets, clearly understanding that no matter how powerful the survivor forces were, they could not compare to the might of the military. Following the military was the true path to safety. Therefore, they continued their journey together, advancing towards the sporadic gunfire in the city. Wang Chung felt as though he had missed something. As night fell and the streets became quieter, they encountered fewer and fewer people. It seemed that the massive fleeing crowd of over 100,000 had completely left the perilous coastal city, leaving only them, who had lagged behind, wandering on the desolate edges of the city, following the sparse gunfire. The city was eerily silent, reminiscent of a horror game filled with lurking dangers. However, they managed to find a group of military personnel following the sound of gunshots. Coincidentally, it was a familiar face, Zhao Nan. But there were only him and a few scattered soldiers. The large force led by Zhang Rui was nowhere to be seen. Seeing Wang Chung, Zhao Nan was momentarily stunned and exclaimed, "You're still alive? That's great. This is wonderful news. Captain Zhang will be very happy to hear this." But Wang Chung cut straight to the point, anxiously asking, "What about the others? Where is Captain Zhang? What happened to my friends?" Upon hearing this question, Zhao Nan's expression darkened as he replied, "They ran into trouble." Chapter 90. Come with me to save them. Seeing Zhao Nan's expression, Wang Cheng's heart sank. What exactly was going on? Hadn't he already drawn the pursuers away? Su Ling also became anxious, glancing over. Meanwhile, Shu Bing was left in the vehicle, unable to get out, silenced and staying put. Zhao Nan said, "Mr. Wang, at that time, you diverted the pursuers, creating an opportunity for us. Our captain seized the chance to fend off the attack from other mutated creatures while retreating with the experts. However, during the retreat, we were ambushed by a group of strange creatures. Do you remember the bizarre creature that had died under your hands? It seems there were far more of them than we thought. They took the fragments of the fallen objects that the experts had excavated and displayed terrifying power. Our team was no match for them and was scattered in the chaos. We barely escaped, hoping to seek help, but..." Zhao Nan's expression revealed rare despair and dejection. They had managed to escape, only to find that the area was already deserted, with no sign of the main military forces. And even survivors were rarely seen. Above in the sky, crimson clouds were spreading, severely disrupting the communication system, and Zhao Nan couldn't contact any of the other brother units. Not only were they unable to call for reinforcements, but they also couldn't even locate their own main force. The blood-red clouds were expanding, and even in the night, the deepening crimson overhead was clearly observable. Hearing this, Wang Chung felt a chill run down his spine. What happened after that? Do you know what happened to Captain Zhang and the others? What about Su Xinghai and my people? Wang Chung was aware of the formidable nature of those strange creatures. If it came to a direct confrontation, the so-called awakened individuals within the human camp were not even on the same level as them. The most critical point was that these creatures possessed intelligence, which was a completely different concept from ordinary mutated beings. Zhao Nan showed a look of sorrow. I don't know. All I know is the general direction they retreated. We were cut off. Those strange creatures had no interest in us lowly beings, which allowed us to break through. But Captain Zhang, the experts, and the awakened ones. Wang Chung clenched his teeth. Zhao Nan mentioned that the experts had excavated fallen objects from the giant pit at that time. Was it similar to the irregular energy crystal he had obtained? Wang Chung took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. What was the approximate direction? Also, you mentioned that those strange creatures unleashed terrifying power using that fallen object. What exactly is going on? I don't know either. They have a very strange device that can activate the energy of the objects found by the experts. To me, it looks like a stone, but in the hands of those strange creatures, it emits powerful electric currents. Zhao Nan recalled something, and a look of anxiety appeared on his face. Mr. Wang, did you see any of our other brother units on your way here? Do you want to go back to save them? Wang Chung asked. Yes. Zhao Nan tightened his grip on the gun in his hand. Captain Zhang has treated me well, and our mission is not yet complete. The experts are not with us. Even if they are already dead, I, Zhao Nan, need to go back and see for myself. If they are alive, I want to see them. If they are dead, I want to see their bodies. But with just our small group, going back would only mean sending ourselves to death. So, We have been trying to contact other brother units to form a rescue team. Zhao Nan's eyes were filled with determination. Wang Cheng felt a chill in his heart as well. If Zhao Nan was right, and Captain Zhang's situation was dire, they might have already been completely annihilated by those strange creatures. The experiences of Su Xinghai, Zhang Chao, and Wang Qi during this period surged in Wang Cheng's mind. He gritted his teeth and said, "You're right. If they're alive, I want to see them. If they're dead, I want to see their bodies. Zhao Nan, you continue looking for other units. I'll take a look." As soon as he said this, both Zhao Nan and Su Ling were taken aback, exclaiming in unison, "No, that's too dangerous." Wang Cheng shook his head and glanced at the warship behind him. "You've seen what I'm capable of. You should understand that my words are not without basis. I have ways to ensure my safety." "Zhao Nan, how long have you been separated from Captain Zhang?" Zhao Nan was momentarily stunned, then lowered his head. "At least an hour and a half." "An hour and a half? When you separated?" Captain Zhang and his team were already in a precarious situation. Now, they are likely facing unforeseen circumstances. If we delay any longer, no one may be saved. Lives are at stake. I've made my decision, and you don't need to stop me. Wang Cheng's words were firm and powerful. Zhao Nan stared at him, biting his teeth, and said, "You must be careful. They are intelligent and should not be taken lightly. I will contact the brother units as soon as possible." Su Ling reached out and grabbed Wang Cheng's arm. Though she had little strength and her grip was weak, she stood in front of him, blocking his way, and said, "Then I will go with you. You are a second-level awakener, and I cannot let you get into trouble." Wang Cheng had no choice but to let Su Ling follow him. Zhao Nan opened his mouth. He had many questions about Wang Cheng, such as his identity as a second-level awakener and the advanced aircraft that even he, as a military member, had never seen before. But now was not the time to discuss these matters. They quickly separated to perform their respective duties. Zhao Nan took control of Chun Jigua and others' convoy, preparing to continue on the road to seek assistance from the brother units. Chun Jigua and the others exchanged glances, not expecting that Wang Cheng had such a relationship with the military, and that both parties could even negotiate. The group that had previously stopped Wang Cheng was filled with trepidation. They thought Wang Cheng was a friend of Chun Jigua and thus under his protection. But now it seemed the situation was much more complicated. Wang Cheng had military connections, and it appeared that Chun Jigua was trying to curry favor with him. Thankfully, they hadn't truly engaged in a fight. Otherwise, it would have felt like they had kicked a steel plate. Death would come without them even knowing how. Zhao Nan and Wang Cheng's conversation had avoided them, and they were unaware of what Wang Cheng intended to do. Meanwhile, Wang Cheng arrived at the rear of the vehicle and, following the system prompts and battleship operating guidelines, placed the irregular energy crystal inside. Upon returning to the battleship, he saw the prompt, "Energy module replacement successful." The energy bar was completely filled because the energy contained in this irregular crystal exceeded the battleship's energy display limit. This meant that unless Wang Cheng used it to a certain extent, the energy display would remain full. This indicated that for a short time, Wang Cheng would no longer need to worry about the energy required for the battleship's activation and operation. A small energy crystal could sustain the battleship's full power operation for an extended period, which surprised and delighted Wang Cheng. This time, he was not only going to rescue people, but also to retrieve the fallen objects over there. All of these were usable energy for the battleship. Feeling an urgent need, Wang Cheng got into the vehicle with Su Ling and quickly headed in the direction indicated by Zhao Nan. Inside the vehicle, Su Ling glanced at Xu Bing in the back and couldn't help but ask, "Aren't we handing her over to Zhao Nan and the others?" Xu Bing was glaring angrily. Wang Cheng glanced at her and shook his head. "There's no time to explain. If we hand her over to Zhao Nan, we'll have to discuss the situation. Life and death are at stake. We'll talk about it later." He had just forgotten about her. Su Ling replied, "Forgotten?" Despite the urgency of the situation, she still felt it was somewhat absurd. Xu Bing was a person who was always polite and courteous at the survivor base in Haiqing, but here in Wangcheng, she seemed like a burden, completely disregarded. Her eyes were practically blazing with fury. Unfortunately, she was bound tightly and had her mouth covered, her attractive figure accentuated. Yet she couldn't utter a word, and even the muffled sounds she made were faint. However, from her gaze, it was clear she was extremely angry, wishing to tear Wangcheng apart. Wangcheng had dealt with strange creatures before, so instead of taking to the skies flamboyantly, he chose to rush on the ground to avoid alarming them prematurely. However, as he got closer, he realized the situation was far worse than he had imagined. Zhang Rui, Su Xinghai, and the others were alive but in a precarious state. The situation was extremely dire. Chapter 91. He has arrived. It was a 3-story warehouse supermarket, with weathered walls that seemed to have endured numerous impacts in this apocalyptic world. At that moment, below the warehouse supermarket, an entire street was densely populated with terrifying mutated beings. These monsters, transformed from humans, had split heads and twisted limbs, pushing forward frantically. Among them were large mutated creatures, towering 7 meters tall and resembling grotesque tanks, braving a hail of bullets while emitting chilling, spine-tingling howls as they advanced step by step.